my God, this is cooking.
Hey, students.
Hey, students.
We're live. Tamika, talk to us about what's going on.
Hey, guys. So you are in the live office hours for Streetwear Essentials with instructional designer David. And we have a special guest today, one of our industry experts from the course, Mr. Rob Cristofaro, who is synonymous with Alife and a few other projects. A lot of you guys were super excited to have him here in office hours to kind of give you some direction on your projects and, you know, just some inside information and answering some questions in addition to the webinar that he did and the commentary that he gives in the course. So I strongly suggest that you come with a pen and paper and you take lots of notes because this doesn't happen very often. And we are in the middle of a hurricane, ladies and gentlemen. I have no Wi-Fi, but I'm connected to my laptop with my phone. And David he has no power. So we're basically roguing it right now. So if it is that this gets cut short, just know that those are the conditions, but we're gonna try to run this for as long as we can. Hey, Dominique. Dominique said, peace, thanks for being here. I'm going to turn it over to David so he can open it up, I think, on the branding part.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about, what we do. We got Rob here with us, and he's a branding expert. When you go into his studio, and if we have time, we'll even let you, we'll take you on a little tour of his studio that we shot virtually. But Rob Cristofaro is a beast at branding and creating, helping brands get out the door. So Rob, why don't you start it off? And one thing to remember, students, what we should do is, if you have a question, drop your question in the Q&A area. Okay, and Tamika and I are gonna be looking in Q&A for questions, okay? They're directly for Rob or myself or Tamika, obviously, but Q&A is where we're going to do that. If you want to talk about some cool things that are going on, tell us about your favorite piece by Rob. That's what I want to see happening in the chat room. So jump in the chat room. If you've got a piece that you're loving, if there was a collection that you're digging, if you were liking the museum collection, if you were liking anything, put it in the chat. Let him know, give him some love for coming out and supporting us. But what we're going to talk about first is getting your brand off the ground. Then we're going to talk a little bit about branding, and then we're going to go into a little bit more about looking at some of your assignments we're working on. So Rob, what is your advice to a young startup, someone who is coming out the door with their brand and they're trying to figure out where they fit in the industry? What's your advice to them as they're getting started?
I mean, we are in a pretty crazy time right now, considering all that's happening within, cultural affairs, popular culture. I think just everything is kind of hitting at one time. So I think that there's really a lot of changes that are happening, especially in the apparel, world. Retailers are, up in arms. A lot of businesses are closing down. It's really just a time that is a lot of unknowns, I think. But I think out of these times of the unknown come a lot of creative kind of thought process and solutions to problems and new ways of thinking. So I think that we are in actually a kind of good place, almost a new starting point for, what's going to unfold over the next, couple of years regarding, branding and making waves with in what's happening right now. So it's a lot of unknowns, which I don't even know what the hell is going on really. I just kind of focus on the things that I really enjoy doing, and thankfully my online is really what we focus on more than in the past. It was a bit more focusing on wholesale and trying to build all that up. But I think everything is in such turmoil right now that the thing to focus on is really just probably yourself and your own, you know, your Instagram, your web, you know, website, however you can really attract consumers to your brand, you know.
I mean, that's great advice. I think that, you know, right now, discoverability is everything. And so if you have a website and your website is set up correctly, you know, to optimize SEO, to optimize and make sure that you're using your social to put out all of the blasts or drops that you want, you know, Rob, your point is very valid. We have to kind of focus on what we can do, and that's digital, you know, and creating media, posting media that points back to your brand, and just making sure that you've got your anchor, which is your website. You know, talk to me a little bit about, you know, are there any tips that you give to people as they're setting up their first website? You know, are there any advice you give them in terms of how they should make their site look, feel, most effective ways to build and brand a site?
I mean, I think that even the website, I feel like, is almost going to become obsolete at this point. I feel like, you know, the website is great for, actually, we've always been, I mean, at the start of Alife, the thought was our website was never really anything other than a place that you could buy the product. So that was really always my focus was, you know, not as much storytelling as much as a point of sale for goods. And so one thing that I always thought was great was just really basic, you know, just product imagery, just really white background, just here's the product, it's big, buy now. You know what I'm saying? The opportunity for people to buy it really simply, I think, was always like something that I always thought was the best way to go about web, you know, and not knowing that's not my specialty at all. Now, you know, fast forward however many years since web came about, and we have Instagram and all these social media, you know, venues that are potentially, you know, stores. You know, your Instagram could easily become, you know, how you move your product. And I think, you know, so that's it. I think like the reach that these social media venues have is great, and they're making it easier and easier for people to sell products. And I think that, like, you know, you could do business just by having an iPhone or whatever you're on. You know, your phone could become your, you know, your basic store. I like to look at Instagram as, you know, I use Instagram as almost, me personally, I like to think of it as my portfolio. And when I'm looking at, you know, when I'm looking for talent, when I'm looking for anything, photographers, you know, artists, people that I enjoy working with, a lot of times I come about them on Instagram, you know, so that's been really a great venue for me. And, you know, I think that's the wave of, you know, the future. I think there'll probably be other apps that come about that, you know, are able to promote your work and sell products. So I think that's really it.
Yeah, I've actually I've clicked through on your on some of your IG promotions. I've also clicked through on some of your Facebook promotions, and you like ran and this is a great advice for people. You ran like a 10% off on Facebook, and it followed me around because you're cookieing me, and you know that I like Alife, and so I go buy. I see that 10%. I jump off. I go buy something, and it happens. And that's how you use social, because you see me. I've come to the site. You've cookied me, and so when something's hot, it pops up on my FB or it pops up on Instagram, and that's marketing. That's what you guys have to optimize your sites and go ahead and spend a few little bucks on Facebook or Instagram ads, and it's going to follow the people who love you, you know, and the people who like you.
And I'm really not the most knowledgeable and all that, but we brought somebody onto the team recently that is, you know, over the past probably year has been focusing on that exactly. And it's not like we're spending tons of money. It's like, you know, these little, anytime we have a release, you know, he puts a small amount of budgeting dollars into, you know, Facebook or these ads, and they seem to, you know, they seem to work. So.
Oh, so we have two questions. Ali is asking, are there any new platforms or apps on the horizon that interest you, Rob, from a brand perspective, or David or myself? Like, is there anything new that you think is worth, you know, like new like streetwear brands dabbling in?
I mean, I think they're all great. I mean, my daughter's on TikTok nonstop. I mean, I think like I'm not really up on that as a platform, but I think like, you know, all these huge companies are already involved in all these apps. So, you know, there's Cameo, which is a whole different thing, but like I think that you know, it's taking these apps and then maybe potentially, you know, not using them exactly as they're supposed to be. You know, it's figuring out how to market yourself or your brand on whatever they are, you know. So outside of Instagram, I'm kind of in an Instagram hole all the time. I mean, that's where I kind of spend the majority of my time if I'm online, either that or I'm researching, you know. I do deep dives, and you know, when I'm on the computer, I'm just like, if there's something I want to find that's, you know, potential project that I'm working on, or I kind of go in and I just am all over the place from, you know, I'll be on eBay, I'll be on all different kind of older, you know, platforms. The newer ones, other than Instagram, I can't even say I'm up on, so. Sorry.
No, I mean, yeah.
Just to piggyback on what you said, I think as a person who is trying to brand the brand or tell the story, you'd have to do a little research and dig into the demographic you're trying to market to. So if you know that majority of your buyers or the people interested in your brand are on Instagram, that's where you should probably put your focus. You can dabble into other things too and see what you can collect, but you really have to research to know where your buyers are, where's your audience, you know? Maybe I remember back when I started in the industry, it was like MySpace and those kind of things. And MySpace was a completely different place back in 2010, 2009. It was a whole different ball game. So just imagine we were trying to market things from that perspective. It would be difficult.
And just to piggyback on what you just said, so when MySpace, because that was early on, when I populated our Alife on MySpace, people were like, what the fuck are you doing? Like a lot of people were kind of like mad. And then I remember when the hundreds actually, I think the hundreds, when I did it, one of the hundreds either wrote something about it or they commented. They said, holy shit. They said, because it was a platform that really wasn't meant for kind of cool, I don't think. It was really like a personal like thing. And it was early on for us to start dabbling with it. And I remember the hundreds kids were like, that's bugged out that you guys touched like MySpace, you know? So it's like, you know, entering unknown waters a lot of times, you know. It's like when we you know, when we did the Crocs, for example, that was like a product that was kind of taboo for the streetwear industry at the time. Like people were like, you know, nobody's wearing that shit, that's the ugliest shoe that ever, you know, this and that. And it was you know, but yet it's that kind of stuff is exciting for me, just to kind of like watch people's responses, you know. And a lot of times you don't know if it's going to move. It could be a bomb, or it can happen. And you know, so I think that's one thing, is we kind of touch unexpected areas a lot of times. And I like doing that, as, you know, we try not to really follow what everybody else is doing and kind of just do what, you know, what is really from the heart and what we like to, you know, like to play with.
Rachel dropped us an image of her favorite Alife piece. I'm not gonna share my screen because I'm afraid of what might happen.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna show it here. And if you remember the piece, because I know you've done a gajillion pieces,
yeah.
Can you speak to it? And can you speak to some of the branding tactics, maybe design? Just talk about this piece a little bit.
So like, first of all, and I'm really like the anti-fashion. I'm like the worst person to probably talk about fashion with, because part of me like doesn't really care about the, you know, the line with 30 different pieces. Like, my thing was always a t-shirt. A t-shirt was always the medium to put the message onto. So like, you know, the clothing, it could be all different, you know, cuts and this and that. And honestly, I'm not the one, like, I'm sorry, I'm like, I wear a t-shirt and jeans, I wear Timberland boots, I'm like the basicest dude, like, so, but, you know, it was always putting out content on, you know, on basically, I mean, our best selling items are t-shirts, sweatshirts, and hats. You know what I'm saying? Like the simple things, and that'll continue to be what we do. And really, it's not like that the garments are the best luxurious t-shirt or, you know, the best sweatshirt you could buy, although the fleece has gotten really good. But, you know, it's really what you put out there on these things. It's the, you know, it's the artists that I work with. It's the messages that you put out there. It's like, you know, so that's really what excites me more than the actual like garment itself.
Sorry.
I think that your points are really valid. You know, it's finding what the culture likes, and it's embracing what's authentic to the culture. And it doesn't always have to be lockstep with fashion. As long as you're in tune with culture, as you are, Rob, you're able to put out what you know that your tribe, you know, loves. And so I think that that's a great thing. You know, we have a question from Prince, who's asking about marketing on TikTok. Now, you know, again, I'm not a TikTok expert, but Tamika, I don't know if you want to add some flavor to that. Rob, have you, either one of you, run any campaigns on TikTok? You know, for me, I see Alife sessions as being a template for something that would rock really well on TikTok. Talk to me about how you use music to kind of imbue your brand with that authenticity, and how maybe somebody could use clips from some of those things on TikTok. And again, Tamika, jump in on that too, if you agree.
No, I think the fact that the Alife brand has Alife sessions, let's say TikTok was a thing that was happening back then, that would be the perfect segue into marketing the brand, because music is involved and there's the singing, the dances, and so on and so forth, and the collaboration. So now you have two different audiences coming together on something that's TikTok, and you can basically bring them in and market the product. Now, from a music perspective, I think Alife did an amazing job with morphing two different genres with music and branding and fashion. Not from a fashion perspective like this collection, but bringing the t-shirt or a hoodie into play with two different genres of music. Like, I remember before I started working in the industry, I remember going to Alife sessions shows. And it's just funny watching it come full circle, and it's still super relevant to the conversation of collaboration and just bringing different industries together.
Yeah.
TikTok, I don't really know, other than the amount of time that the kids spend on it. Is
right,
like,
that's all I know, is that my kids are always doing the dance and singing the song, and yeah.
The crazy shit is that, like, the dance is on TikTok, and then simultaneously, like, it's, my daughter plays also video games, so she's been playing Fortnite. So then they have all of the dances, the characters doing all the dances on Fortnite, and it's almost all like,
yep,
real time, which is the crazy shit, because it's like, you know, the ability to, you know, even some of these games, even before Fortnite, there was another game called Roblox, which is like a building, you know, all these.
They're still playing. They're still playing that too.
And the crazy shit is when she first started going on that, I'm like, oh shit, you know, once in a while I see a character like wearing Bape or wearing like some shit. And I was like, wait. And she's like, no, there's stores. So we went to the store and it's like, oh shit, there's Mob, there's Supreme, there's Alife, there's like all these brands that the kids are just, you know, doing, and potentially like you can actually open up the damn store where you know, if I wanted to, I could open the Alife store on Roblox and you're making money on that. So it's like just the speed of you know, the speed of all these different things happening in real time, where, you know, back in the day it was like we'd have to go to the damn game store, buy a cartridge. Like, no, now it's like somebody sees something hot or a song that's good or a fashion that's happening, and it's like simultaneously happening on that platform also, which is like nutty, you know?
Yeah. I think that your point, Rob, is very, very important. I actually, we were doing a gaming course, and I literally was just talking to the press about the fact that we're integrating Roblox into that game development course. But the key to what's going on is branding and fashion is making its way onto Roblox. It's making its way onto platforms like Animal Crossing. It's making its way into these game environments, which means that now you have ways to extend your brand out there where you may not be making money per se. You might only be making Robux in Roblox, you know, but why not tap a influencer in Roblox?
Yeah.
And use one of my garments in your store. What are you going to lose other than the fact that kids are going to be rocking, you know, the Marcus Garvey sweatshirt, Rob, you know, or Mark, you are rocking, you know, one of your limited pieces in that space. And now you've got a whole nother tribe of kids who start understanding about the brand. So Rob, I love what you just said there.
Yeah.
You know, it's important.
Yeah, I think it's just reality of like, you know, I mean, for the younger kids that are starting brands that don't have children and stuff, I think like, you know, my daughter's 13, like that's the next wave of like, you know, she's up on everything, you know, fashion wise. I'm a old timer, you know, like, but it's great to see what she likes. And I often, you know, will ask for her perspective on things, you know, because she has taste and she likes a lot of the things that I like. But the platforms are just totally different, and the reach is like ridiculous, you know, that these kids are reaching.
Yeah. So, I mean, we got another question in the house from, you know, which is kind of a follow-up on the same question from Dominique. And she's saying, you know, how do you envision the role of social innovation in the future of streetwear? You know, and like, you know, she's talking about, you know, companies like Pierre Moss, and you know, how do you position yourself as an asset without a formal background in fashion to be the pulse of the people and culture? So, you know, how do you tap into authenticity, I think is what she's saying, you know, and keep yourself out there and being socially relevant? You know, either one of you guys jump in on that.
I'm going to give it to the expert.
I mean, I think that, you know, that's what's allowed Alife to, you know, continue for 20 years now, is just that it is authentic in the things that we promote and things that we get behind. It's you know, that was one thing that I kind of valued, you know, never to, you know, get behind some fake crap or promote things that really weren't relevant to myself. So I think like, you know, Alife has changed. You know, at the beginning it was 4 partners. Now there's 2 partners, and my current partner is African American. So he puts a lot of his input into, you know, what we do. So you're seeing a lot of the Black history and the stuff that's happening, you know, now, and a lot of that is his input and me kind of, you know, just tweaking how we're putting it out there. But I think, you know, what makes a brand is what's relevant to you. Like you're the brand, you know, you're the director of what people are gonna see. And I think that, you know, if you're putting forth content that you're just seeing other people put forth on Instagram or wherever you're seeing it, that's not going to go too long. I mean, that'll be hot for a second, but I think like unless you have, you know, it has to be the clothing, the brand has to be a venue for your, you know, your life ultimately, and like what you stand for, your likes, your dislikes. That's really it. It's an extension of, you know, it's putting your insides out there to the public, you know. It's really as simple as that, I think.
Ooh, this is a good question. Is branding more relevant than design in streetwear? And how do you brand yourself in a way that is unique and elevated rather than just white noise in a very competitive industry? Thank you, Peter. That was a good question.
Yeah, I think that branding is definitely at almost, I would almost say it's almost more relevant than, I mean, if your product is oh, that's it for Tamika. We lost her. I said, you know, if your product is garbage, of course, then you're going to get shouted out. But I also think that like a lot of people have a good marketing game and could promote the hell out of a piece of garbage, you know? And so I think the marketing, you know, good marketing tied in with good product and good message is like, that's the ultimate key. I think like it all works hand in hand, and it's all necessity. It's all very important. You know, the design, yes. Even though the design, you know, can change season to season, whatever, I think as long as you have, as long as you hold a quality, you know, quality control to what you're putting out there, it doesn't matter if one season you're doing, you know, country western and then you flip it up to, you know, futuristic. And I think as long as you stay, you know, as long as your product is quality and the marketing, you know, marketing is my favorite aspect of all of this. And that's really what I enjoy the most out of it. You know, I do enjoy the product also, less on the apparel, like, you know, more on the co-branding opportunities, because those are usually products that I can't make. Like I can make a t-shirt, but you know, you make 1,000 t-shirts, you kind of get tired of making a t-shirt. So the people I'm working with, you know, currently, like right now, I love, because it's like, you know, it's testing, manufacturing that I don't have. And it's always great to see, you know, push these people for the, you know, to see really how far they go with their capabilities and you know, so that's a different question. But back to the marketing, I think the marketing is 80% of what I love to do and relevant to your brand.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, you talked a little bit about cross promotion and collabs. Luke asked us a question about how do you collab with an artist? Do you buy the rights outright, or do you do a rev share on items, you know, that feature the art of an artist or something to that extent? What are your tips on doing a collab?
I think that there might be a template for that, but I've never really used one. I think that's more like, you know, a lot of people will license artwork, which is a different thing. That's kind of like, okay, here's a painting from, which we've done before. Like, you know, we're doing it currently with Norman Rockwell. We're kind of like licensing, which is not as exciting to me as creating with the artist. So it depends. There's the licensing aspect, which is really just paying for somebody's artwork, and, paying a royalty to these people that hold the license. Or there's my style more, which is like an artist that I enjoy what they're doing, and I will either seek out or, I will try to get, a hold of these people. Jim Joe was one back, before anybody knew who this kid was. A lot of people probably still don't know who this kid was, but Virgil blew him up a little after we started messing with him. Drake used them for, lettering on one of his albums that became pretty a meme and whatnot. But, these are people that they catch my eye because they're Jim Joe, for instance, was an artist that was putting his work on the street, really, before anything. He was nobody. He was just a kid that was, doing it up in the streets. And I reached out through the graffiti community, found him, had a convo with him, said, and this is the real collaboration, is just, the meeting, the talking. What are you looking to do? What are you looking to do? Like, and just building these projects. So it could be as small as doing a t-shirt together. It could be as big as what we did with Jim Joe was we created, his first art show with a gallery in New York called The Hole, which was Jeffrey Deitch was a big gallerist in New York, still is. His assistant was a woman named Kathy Grayson, who started her own gallery named The Hole, the Hole Gallery is kind of the young contemporary space in Manhattan. It's on the Bowery. It's a younger crowd. It's a lot of contemporary artwork. And I have a lasting relationship with Kathy, and we brought Jim Joe to Kathy to do the first show. And that was the beginning of his art career. That was the beginning of his career in this game. And, fast forward almost 10 years later, and he is, he's on staff with Kanye. He's, backstage doing video, filming. Like, so it's really like searching out people that you may, it doesn't matter. Everybody else likes this kid's work. It's almost better for you to say, you know what? There might be this photographer or illustrator or whatever it is that something catches your eye about this person. Something like, and that's the kind of shit that I go for. I'm like, it might be a painter that's 50 years old. It might be a young kid. Hold on 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Hold on. Kiki, go get, I'm on Zoom. Kiki's coming down.
Okay.
Bye.
What about the door? Okay, bye.
Bye. Sorry.
Yeah. He's in the studio working.
Working, home, parenting, whatever.
Parenting, okay.
So, but I think that's like, that's the beauty of, and of co-branding with, artists anyway. And, the way that you set up your deal between each other is really individual. It's like, some people I've worked with, they're happy with just getting a gang of clothes, a bunch of clothing, and saying, okay, here. Some people, it's like, all right, we're going to, we're going to make X amount, mathematics. We're making 100 pieces. We have the potential to make $10,000. You're going to make half, half and half. Half and half is always a good thing. That's a nice way to work. But, so I think it's really up to the individual, and being fair, I think, is something that, has allowed me to stay in business for 20 years and work with artists consistently and nonstop. Is like, putting them, I look at Alife as a stepping stone, as a platform to introduce people, so if anything else, you might not make, $50,000 off our project, but you will have the opportunity to use us as a platform. And if you really kill it, then you have a lot of opportunities that come from that. You know, numerous examples is, I have introduced artists that have had exhibitions or shows at my place, and the next people that come to approach these people are somebody like Nike and say, okay, you know what? We want to do something with you next. And that's your opportunity to make money. So, it's really, Alife has always been really a stepping stone for a lot of people as an introductory into the business.
Yeah, I mean, the brand Alife is a tastemaker in the New York and the global streetwear scene. And so, what you're saying is, I think that, and a lot of our students should really take this to heart, is don't always feel that you have to team up with the biggest person out there. Find people who are untapped talent and make them big, help them become big, and you build together. So I love that, we've got another question from our student who's asking about drop shipping, and he's asking whether or not, two people have asked this question. So I'm crossing. One person is asking a question about, how do you get the startup costs to get your first samples? That's Cass. And he's asking, do you create, drop, and then pre-order and sell, or and that's a form of drop shipping where you're taking the orders in, and then once you've got a certain amount sold, you then ship it or have it shipped directly from the factory to the space. What are your thoughts on that?
I think again, like we're in the days of like anything goes, and almost like by any, my shit has always been by any means necessary. Like we are gonna survive, we'll survive Hurricane Sandy, we'll survive 9/11, we'll survive the blackouts, we've been looted, we've been robbed, we've been like, it's like how much you want to put up with to make it, to fulfill your dreams. And I think like we started with 4 people, we each contributed $15,000. So, we started a brand with $60,000. That was to build a store, to buy clothing, to make clothing, to buy product. It was really nothing. At the end of the day, it came down to like peanuts. So I think like, yeah, there's opportunities right now you don't even need to make the damn clothes. You make the mock-up, show what you're making, like, I think like, again, it's an individual way of how you finesse it and your hustle. I think like if you have a good hustle, if you have, me, I like to create, I sketch too, but I create on the computer. So I could make a mock-up and put it on the computer that you'll be like, oh shit, that's the product. Like I almost don't even need a damn sample. A lot of times I show the people that I want to make things with, I'm like, here's what I'm trying to make. Oh shit, I know exactly. I see it, we'll make it, so I think like I could, I will sometimes put up imagery that we don't have yet and use that exactly as like, pre-sell the shit, t-shirts, especially like they're fast turnaround. You can make a t-shirt in 2 weeks, I'm saying probably less, but 2-3 weeks. You put a pre-order out, you take orders for a week, you see what you do. If the thing, if it's hitting and that's it, that'll be a good gauge of hitting or not also, and I think, that's it. It's really just kind of a freestyle to the whole thing. There is the traditional way of, okay, I'm going to build a whole line and shoot it. And, I think there's the traditional way. I think almost better is almost like freestyling right now, because I think everything is moving so fast. You don't want to put, a big amount of money, especially nowadays when people don't even know if they're going to be, working in another 2 months. So I think like right now is the era of like freestyle your ass off,
Right. Again, I think that's it. Anything goes. There are people who can start a website with 1 or 2 or 3 great pieces, and it blows up because people want those pieces, and they took their time and put some fly love in, you know. And so yeah, you know, there is no number, you know, Robbie, I think you said correctly, there's no set number to what has to be in your collection, but it's what you do with those pieces that are there, and the fact that you can deliver on what you put up there. Another question we got from is Santiago. He's asking, how did you collab with rappers, you know, skaters early on, you know? And again, I think that, you know, one of our assignments, we take a look at Alife sessions, and then we take you on a tour of your current space in VR. And maybe we'll have time to look at that a little bit later. But, you know, how did you make those first collabs with the artists that you brought into Alife sessions? How did you link with Drake? You know, we got Drake, we got Meek. You know, those videos are on YouTube. You guys can find them.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how you were able to pull those off.
I think it started from just, you know, first of all, it started from having a venue that we were able to do those kind of events, you know? But really, Drake, for instance, was a customer of the store. So, you know, he was buying the product, you know, same as Virgil. Virgil was a customer of the store, you know, like these are people that kind of, you know, they didn't get into it quickly. They kind of followed the, you know, they kind of had been part of the story as it was growing and watched, and that was it, you know, like after hosting, the music shit was crazy because that was, that came about through art, basically. There was I've told this story so many damn times, but there was a graffiti artist. I was a graffiti writer. So that's how I spent my, you know, from 13 to when I started Alife, when people could find me, is when I kind of stopped. So I stopped in 99 pretty much. But, you know, so that was my youth growing up in the graffiti community, which is a pretty large community. And I'm so dumb that I didn't even know that there was a skate community because I was so intertwined in the graffiti community. So that graffiti community was really the network of people that brought a lot of the projects and artists that I represent forward. And so the music started because I was talking with another graffiti artist, an old school graffiti artist that was like one of the originals. His name was Crash, and he blew up in the 80s. And he blew up to the, you know, to the extent that he was doing artwork for a lot of great musicians. Eric Clapton, like the biggest people out there. One thing he was doing was painting their guitars. So he had in with the music community. So me and him were talking about working on a project together. And he was like, why don't we do something around music? And I'm like, music? We've never done music. But I'm like, fuck it, let's do music. And so he's like, I have a friend that I met through Eric Clapton. His name's John Mayer. And I want to bring him in. I think he would be good to bring in to introduce, you know, to whatever we're doing. So the collaboration was really me, well, Alife, Crash, this graffiti writer, and John Mayer came in. And John Mayer, I had no clue who John Mayer was. You know, it was like, he came into the studio, he played his music. His music was like, you know, white boy, like, you know, I don't know, rock and roll, not even. It was like nice, you know, not what I grew up on. So anyway, you know, after listening to it, I'm like, yeah, you know, we could do this. And somebody I was with were like, we should mix it up with something that's like really kind of like our audience. So it turned into a big pile of different people. So we brought Just Blaze in, who was another who was a customer of the store also. So Just Blaze met John Mayer, right? We have this event where like nobody met. I had met John Mayer. Nobody met Just Blaze yet. Me and Crash, figured out the design and the pieces that we were going to put forth. John Mayer came to the back of the store. Just Blaze came to the back of the store. They each came with their, respective tools of making music. So Just came with his, electronic, his DJ equipment, all that, beat making stuff. John Mayer came with like 6 guitars and just kind of shook hands. They sat on stage and they just started performing together. Just would play a music, some Hall and Oates or something, just some like bass line or something. And then John Mayer would just come on and start. And it was weird at first. And then like 10 minutes into it, it was just the music took over and they just both started kind of creating. And so that was the first time that we took the step from visual arts, which was our specialty, to now doing these events where it was like music, because music is an artwork also. And it was like a free flowing, it was just like freestyle, watching these people just do their thing with no practice, just going at it. And that was the beauty of the initial like music stuff we were doing was, putting people together that had never been together in this venue that was very small. And it became, it became what it was. It became, a venue, which, I like to look at it as, like CBGB's was like a punk venue back in the day. Like this is a venue that when people are in town now, they want to come play it, and it's great. It's like a lot of times, you don't have much time to prepare. It might be like, oh shit, I'm in New York in 2 days. Like, can I play? And it's like, yeah, we'll make it happen, So really it's just the music is another form of art that, is performance art, but it still falls into that play.
Again, you all were groundbreaking in starting to create that type of pop-up vibe. So, I love it. One of the things that we wanted, that I promised the students I would do, is I'd let you look at a couple of their t-shirts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to share my screen and take a look at a couple of t-shirts. Give me any feedback on them. Any constructive thoughts on these t-shirts that we've got in here. So I'm sharing my screen right now, and I'm going to see if we can. And if we lose it, we're in the last 10 minutes. So students, you all rock. Everybody is crushing it. You guys are dropping some bananas questions. If I have time, I'll answer a few more, but I promised students that I would show some of their work to Rob. So here's one by Catherine Schaefer. She's created, a kind of type styling. What thoughts, Rob?
I like it. It's like almost like a throwback to like 70s graphic design. So I like it. I don't know, something about it. Nice.
Let me show you another one. Here's one by this is by Benang. Okay, type styling. Giving you something a little different.
I like it. I like I personally would. I like the. I can't even say what it says. Clandestine. I think.
I think it does.
I like that. I think I would almost get rid of the other stuff on it, but I like I like it.
So keep the tag, I've been kind of sad lately underneath it. And then there's something on the right, I can't tell what that is. But good, going minimal, Rob. Yeah, keep it coming. I'm just gonna show you a bunch of the designs that we got in here. See your thoughts on it. We got another one here. We got something on Savvy Savage. Okay, this is Howard, Eugene Howard.
Savage is big, man. That's all I hear in my home. Savage this, savage that. So yeah, I like it.
Great, great, great. So I got 3 in. Let's see if we got any questions from the students
I like that the big branding's on the back too.
Yeah, I mean that's important. You know, Rob, what you're saying is don't always get locked into feeling it has to be on the front. You know, put it in places people don't expect. So I'm going to grab a couple more questions in the last 7 minutes that we've got here. One of the things that someone's asked is about production. They say, this is Ali Navaz. She says, as we move away from production in China, where can you get things made these days outside of China? And are you have any pros and cons as to, you know, getting things made outside of China?
I mean, I love to make, I mean, the majority of things that I make are, you know, t-shirts, sweatshirts, all the basics, like you could do right here, you know, like I would, you know, unless you're making, you know, thousands of pieces, then China doesn't really make sense for anything. You know, even though a lot of the bigger production, of course, happens out there. But for, I think, like young people starting brands, I think like, yeah, New York, I think has the ability to, you know, New York, California, like there's facilities that will make things happen, you know, like I would keep it all here until you're at the point where you need to go, you know. China's a mess because the minimums are never small, you know, the amount of time it takes to get the shit is like ridiculous. So, you know, for me, I think that for me, something that was always a plus was the ability to make things quick, like quicker than most people could do. So I think like if you could figure out how to get your stuff made locally and cut down on time and say, you know, because a lot of times you have an idea, if it takes you 3 months to get your idea to market, a lot of times your shit is already old. So I think like if you could get your stuff to market in a month, you know, or sooner, then that's great. So I think quick strike like is the way to figure out production.
Yeah, I think your wisdom is important because, you know, we have a 360 tour of Mike Sherman's warehouse, and he has 5 heat presses set up. He's got an embroidery machine, and he's dropping product on a regular basis, and he makes 20 of them, sells them out, and goes on to the next thing. And that's a model. And Rob is giving you the insights on. Think about that. You know, a heat press, and what's a heat press cost, Rob? You know, that might cost you $2,000 to get a simple press for a shirt. You know, then if you're silk screening, you know, getting screens are not expensive. If you want to do something artistic, you can make screens and use paint, you know, and do it yourself, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Just saying, like, you know, using blanks, you know, there's great blanks now. The game has changed. I mean, the amount, everybody uses blanks from the best streetwear brands in the game use blanks, you know, a lot of times. So I think like you can go and source, you know, really good stuff if you want. And, you know, you're buying these bodies, that doesn't take much time at all. And then you know, printables, that's printables is the game, you know. And I think that you know, you can have stuff, my screen printer, if I need it, I get shit in a day, you know. It's just so you build a relationship with the people that you know that you're looking to work with, and you know, they're happy because you're bringing business, and you build these relationships, and that's how the game goes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, thanks so much. Your insights are golden. We got people thanking you, you know, like crazy. Thanks for showing up, you know, Gavin. Thanks for showing up, Yusuf. Thanks for showing up, Ali, Rai, Santiago, Matthew, Daniel. Sorry, I couldn't get to every single question out there. But Rob, you want to leave them with any tips, last parting words in terms of what's the insight for you creating this brand and starting your brand? What are your parting words to them?
I think just that, like, you know, we're in a good time, I think, to start soaking in
Yeah.
Dog was going nuts. Just like taking in everything that's happening right now, and the abilities that everybody has to market their goods, like unlike really any other time before this is, so there's a lot of tools to everybody's, benefit that are out there. And it's just, who's going to figure out how to really finesse this stuff to the best of the ability. And that's it. It's a game that's, it's a long-term game. It's not it's not really, some people jump in and out of it quick, but it's to get it really going. It's a slow and steady, game. So, and I'm around. I'm on Instagram, so people could hit me up anytime and DM me or whatever. And if I'm available, I'm always down to respond to questions about the game. So.
Hey man, we so appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Everybody remember, we've got a tour of Rob's studio and Alife on the site. Go check it out. We've got videos embedded of some of the Alife sessions, and you can dig deep on understanding what Rob's brand is about. Thank you so much, Rob, for taking the time and blessing our young people with feedback on their work and their t-shirts. And again, we're gonna keep this going, man. I'm gonna reach out to you every once in a while so that you can speak to our students. Big shout to Von Vargas and Jacqueline and Dominique. And we got a lot of people in here. I recognize some of these names from some of the people that I work really closely with. And thank you, everybody. We're gonna go ahead and sign off now. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, and good luck, everybody, in these crazy times. Keep your head up.
Yes, respect, much respect.
Respect, y'all.
We'll talk to you later. Peace.